seems impossible until it's done. Nelson Mandela. This quote has given me so much comfort over the years. 16 years ago, I started, PRD was birthed due to a terrible divorce and finding myself homeless. And I found comfort in cooking and also helping a friend. I received a large event for 600 people without any experience, but my dad always said, fake it till you make it. Sure. And I signed up for the job and we did a great job. And it was the birth of TRD. From there, I quickly moved into a shared kitchen in Emeryville. And I noticed that a lot of the businesses that were starting at the same time, they were growing at a really quick pace, a fast pace. And so I watched them and I said, well, what am I doing what are they doing that I'm not doing? And I noticed that the business owners were not in the kitchen and doing the proposals and shopping and all the things that I was currently doing. So I decided to take a leap of faith and apply for a loan from a bank. So I went to the bank, I was all excited. I said, yeah, I got it, I know what I'm gonna do. Went to the bank and I was denied, even though I had great credit and a track record of deposits with this bank. So I remember seeing an advertisement for, at that time, Opportunity Fund. And so I called them and I applied for the loan. Eric at the time was the loan officer. He came to my kitchen and from there we received our first loan and I was able to purchase my van and also hire a chef so that I could move out of working the day-to-day and actually work in my company and not just create a job for myself, but move towards business ownership. So I scaled from just myself to 50 employees pre-COVID, and we moved to this space 5 years ago. When shelter-in-place went into effect, I came to work. I remember that day like it was yesterday. And I looked at our bookings, and it was just like all these reds. I was like, okay, Ashton, come out, because I know I'm being pumped. It was like no events at all. So I was like, okay, this is really serious. So everything was shut down, and I received two calls. Received a call from Pat and Diana from ICA, and I received a call from actually on Opportunity Fund. I haven't been a member and client with them for some time, but they still reached out to me and said, hey, how's it going? Can we help at all? So we set up an appointment and we looked at everything and we started trimming the fat and figuring out what the next game plan was going to be. So after doing that, I went to my team and I told them, I talked to them like, hey, this is happening. I'm going to give you an opportunity. I'm not going to assume that you want to work during this, but also see if you do, what can we do to keep the doors open? So we sat down and said, okay, well, we make snacks. We make great food. Let's make that for the community. So the women, we decided to trade in ourselves, but I put them back on today and get our tennis shoes and serve the community. So with partnerships from local organizations. So I did that, and also we received the first round of PPP, and then also recently the second round of PPP. With that, we were able to bring back 10 of our employees, keep our full benefits because we offer 80% health care and full dental vision, and also create a new was our first one. So thank you for the opportunity. I was so nervous, but it was lovely. But that allowed us to know that we could think outside the box and really make it happen. So we developed that into our new business model. And I also received funding, a grant from the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce and also the Oakland Black Business Fund. So I'm proud to say that we are, in a week or so, bringing on 5 Black women-owned businesses to host them here with that grant. And I'm a little choked up right now because all of this is just bringing back the importance of CDFIs. Because if they didn't take a chance on me, like, I wouldn't be here, and other organizations. I have a lot of friends that are business owners, and I'm always referring them to the organizations, and they're receiving the same support beyond just funding, but also mentorship, just technical support, things that we need beyond debt. And I'm really grateful. And I thank you for the support that you have given and also the work that you're continuing to do now. I thank you. And everyone. Thank you. It is definitely important to continue to support CDFIs and local businesses because I believe we not only take care of our employees, but we also have an opportunity to reach back. So thank you. And with that being said, it's my honor to introduce Congresswoman Barbara Lee.
Thank you. First of all, Ray, thank you so much. What a shining light you are in our community. And I just want to say, we have actually used the Red Door and Rain many times. And the food is delicious, and I'm so proud of what you're doing. So thank you for inviting us to be with you today. Also, to Luz and Allison and our Lieutenant Governor and our Senator, it's really, this is a historic day. It's so exciting for all of us. And I'm so proud and excited to welcome our Vice President back home. And I always, when I have a chance to talk about what the Biden-Harris administration is working on every day, it's something new to build back better. I'm always so happy to be able to say that, and our Vice President was born in my congressional district, in Oakland, California. But Vice President Kamala Harris has taken the values of the East Bay to Washington, D.C., and with her brilliance, make sure that all of the policies and the agenda of the Biden-Harris administration have an added lens of racial and gender equity and justice. And I think today is a reflection of that. In fact, when Vice President Harris was in the Senate, the $12 billion that we appropriated and put into the bill, Senator Harris was very involved and responsible for that $12 billion, which ended up now bringing it back home to the CDFIs to be able to make sure that our entrepreneurs not only survive but thrive during this period. And so with Vice President Kamala Harris in the White House now, we know that even with the difficult days, the challenging days that we face, that we will crush this virus. We will deal with making sure that people's lives and livelihoods are secured. And I always like to just reference your mother, Vice President Harris, because her mother was a scientist. And we know science matters. And we know that this pandemic requires a lens and a focus on making sure that the science leads us out of this terrible moment we're in, and we're making a lot of progress thanks to Vice President Harris and President Biden. And so I just want to say how proud we are of you, first of all, as a daughter of the East Bay. I mean, today we watched Air Force Two land in Oakland Airport, and the pride that we all felt. Tears came to my eyes because, you know, she brings us hope. She lets us know that the American dream is real and that it may take a while, but here she is, and she has returned home, not only to visit, but to really talk about and honor those of us in the East Bay, you, Rain, all of those who have benefited from this hard work, and there's still a lot more to do. And so I just want to thank you again for recognizing your home, your hometown, and for visiting us, coming back home, and for really all of the work that you're doing each and every day with the lens that you bring and the values and the spirit and the brilliance from California to build back not only better, but I always say to build back bolder with Vice President Kamala Harris there. So thank you again.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Let me just start by saying, Rain, I'm so excited to be here. Mayor Libby Schaaf, I spoke to her over the weekend. She is a huge fan of your work. She talked endlessly about you and all that you have done in terms of catering her events as well. But I'm so happy to be here, and your story is an example of really the kind of, you talk about pursuing the American dream, but also it's a very common story. I talk with small business owners around the country. I visited with small business owners around the country. Recently, I think it was in Las Vegas, where we were at a restaurant, and it's a Latina-owned, and she makes empanadas. And she had a similar story about how she started in her kitchen. Then she wanted to buy an industrial-sized stove, and she went to the bank, and she heard this term she'd never heard before, that she was unbankable. But she kept working, and her story was about people investing in her who understood, and then finally she became so-called bankable. But it's a very similar story, and it is my great pride to lift up these stories, because ultimately we are talking about stories of great success. And so congratulations to you, and thank you for hosting us. Barbara Lee, it's so good to be home. So we went to East Bay Mud, which my mother used to live just on the other side of that Keller exit, and so I lived there, right? I lived there, right? And anyway, it's so good to be home, and thank you. And it meant so much to me to have you greet me at the airport on the tarmac. So thank you for that. And to everyone, thank you. Alex, the senator, our great Lieutenant Governor. We're going to hear from our business leaders and our leaders of Oakland and the East Bay. And I'll just tell you, you all know, I've been doing this work for a long time. Going back to just as recently as when I was Attorney General, and Barbara, you stood by my side when we took on the big banks around the foreclosure crisis. And I traveled up and down our state and worked collaboratively with attorneys general from around the country. And what was happening was that we were, at its core, finding that they didn't necessarily have the commitment or the connection to the people of the community. And so we saw predatory lending practices. We saw a level of callousness and detachment that resulted in great suffering. And as we know, California in particular had often 7 on the top 10 list of cities around the country who were hardest hit by the foreclosure. 7 were in California. We lost 1 million children lost their homes during that foreclosure crisis. And at its core, my connection to that case was about challenging the banks to be accountable for their conduct. The $12 billion, I worked together, that was one of the last things I did in the Senate, working with my colleagues in the Senate to get that $12 billion into that bill, knowing the incredible relationship that our community banks, this fancy word is CDFIs, I call it community banks, that community banks have with our small businesses. And when we then think about all of this in connection with the American Rescue Plan and the American Jobs Plan, which are designed to lift up our economy and to lift up the drivers of our economy, understanding that half of America's workforce works for a small business or runs a small business. So the connections are clear, and so my work on CDFIs is really motivated by what I do believe are the success stories of America in terms of who is contributing to the lifeblood of communities, and in particular the economic lifeblood of communities. And so the work that we've been doing, I've been, really doing a lot of work with various CDFIs around the country, community banks, to see how with that $12 billion, Congresswoman, we can really lift up these businesses around access to capital. Because it is both in terms of that initial investment, as you described, Rain, it is also so many, in particular of our minority and women-owned businesses, they have an idea to grow and need someone to believe in them, to not only help them create a business, but then to grow that business, along with, as you described, the technical assistance, along with giving folks an infrastructure. I recently had a conversation with a CDFI in South Dakota who's particularly focused on tribal and native businesses and folks, and being able to talk culturally with people. So that CDFI in particular knew that there were a lot of folks who had bad credit because they'd been receiving bad advice. And again, they want to do better. But if you walk into a financial institution and feel you're being judged, you're likely to walk out without receiving the help that might be available. And that's the other benefit and strength of our community banks. And the community banks are in the community. The community banks are going to know and say, Bob, you can't afford that house, get out of here. And they're going to say, and Mary, that is a great business. We believe in you. But there's a certain connection with the folks that is not about the money. It's about growing the community and the economy of that community. So I'm really pleased and happy to be here. And thank you for that. And with that, I'm privileged to introduce the senator, one of the senators from the great state of California, Alex Padilla.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. It feels so great to say that. And of course, the East Bay is proud, all of California is extremely proud of you, Vice President Harris. Get a little bit out of order here, if that's okay. I just wanted to add a couple of things, because I can't wait to hear even more of the specifics of why we need to continue to invest in CDFIs, these community banks that we're talking about. I'll just offer a couple of sort of big picture observations as to how this continues to come together. One of your last acts as senator before your ascension was the $12 billion, as you said, to CDFIs. Now, I've been senator filling some pretty impossible to fill shoes here for about 2.5 months. But I'm proud that it helped advocate some of the final details and vote for the American Rescue Plan. And as much as we're proud of the ARP for what it's doing for improved vaccination supply and distribution and administration, as helpful as it is for a lot of working families and struggling families across the country, an important piece of it was an investment in small businesses throughout the country. $60 billion or so, about half geared specifically towards restaurants, catering companies, folks in this very industry, because of the disproportionate impact that COVID has had on this sector. And so I just feel like it's all coming together. The need to address COVID from a health perspective, the need to address COVID from an economic perspective, both through that lens of equity, because we know the communities that have been disproportionately devastated, but on the tails of the specific emphasis on CDFIs, this is a success story, and one that we need to continue to replicate and amplify and uplift across the country. So as we work ahead towards the American Jobs Plan now, it is not just roads and bridges, right? We're going to build back better. We're going to build back more sustainably. We're going to build back more inclusively, because it's not just our infrastructure that needs rebuilding, it's our economy that needs rebuilding, to be inclusive of the entrepreneurs that are there in our communities, but aren't always recognized by the traditional financial institutions. So I'm just honored and pleased to be part of today's event. Thank you for your inspiration and for your example, and you continue to count on our support.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. Ray, first and foremost, you don't know how happy it makes us to be here today with all the success, considering everything you've gone through over the past year. It really brings total joy and inspiration to us. Vice President Harris, thank you on behalf of all the CDFIs for your tireless support and hard work, not just during the pandemic, but as your tenure as senator, the $12 billion for community lenders, now working with the Treasury Secretary to help expand the lending capacity for CDFIs. Thank you. You know, CDFIs are the organizations in local communities that are providing affordable capital, technical assistance, support networks for small business owners that unfortunately have been left behind by mainstream financial institutions. We're helping to create jobs, invest, and anchor local economies. Acción Opportunity Fund, for the past 25 years, we have been serving clients that are nearly 90% people of color, immigrants, and women. Most didn't have banking relationships. If you look at what has happened in the last 12 months, we are proud to be here today because Rain, like millions of other entrepreneurs, had gone through a lot of heartache. And she, more than anybody, knows that success takes a long time. It's about hard work. It's about a lot of sacrifice. So being here today and watching her resilience, her strength, and her success is the reason why CDFIs like Acción Opportunity Fund and so many others do the work that we do. Last year, CDFIs deployed about $7.4 billion in PPP loans to about 114,000 businesses. We did about 1,100 for about $18 million. Our average loan size was $16,000, which indicates that CDFIs are really reaching the smallest small businesses. Also last year, CDFIs deployed over $1 million in loans and investments for about $25.4 billion. Real estate, affordable housing, consumer lending, small businesses. And Vice President Harris, having you here today, shining the spotlight on CDFIs and the work that we do to support business owners like Rain is an incredibly important step to help us rebuild our economy and create a more equitable community. We are hopeful for the future. CDFIs now more than ever need an enormous amount of help. The need for credit and capital requirements is significant. Last year in fiscal 2020, CDFIs applied for CDFI funding that is 3 times the annual appropriations by Congress. That's why what you did to work hard to get that money is so incredibly impactful. So we are all deeply grateful to our resilient entrepreneurs, to you, Vice President Harris, Congresswoman Lee, Senator Padilla, Lieutenant Governor Kunalatis, and now I have the pleasure of turning it over to our dear friend Allison Kelly, the Executive Director of Inner City Advisors. Thank you.
What an honor to be here with all of you. Thank you for putting this together, Vice President, and having us all here today. I'm Allison Kelly. I'm the CEO of ICA. We're located here in Oakland. We serve the 9-county Bay Area region. We also are 25 years old, building on the 40-year-long track record of CDFIs. And what we do is we do intensive business support. We have an accelerator that brings small businesses who have a passion and a talent and a commitment to do what it is they love, like cooking, and put some business structure behind it so that they can access capital. We also complement our other fellow partners in the community, and we're a venture capital CDFI. So we can use other tools of capital to help growth-oriented businesses. Businesses have been really hard hit by the pandemic, but they're not all suffering. Some are really thriving during this time and finding opportunities, and we're there to help that also. So what I love about CDFIs, and I think what our real opportunity here is to leverage the public-private partnerships that we have. We get support from banks, we get tremendous support from our federal government, and we can deploy SBA loans, PPP loans, and then we can also do what we did during the pandemic, which is reach out to our business owners and say, what do you need? What do you need to get through this time? And it was actually Rain's voice that helped us create a zero-interest loan to help business get through this time. So it's all hands on deck. And what we can do is we can be fast, we can be nimble, and we can be responsive to the needs of our community. And that's how we complement the ecosystem. And that's why we're here so proud to support Rain and so proud to be in all of your incredible presence. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to the Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you, Allison. It's wonderful. Luz, Senator, Congresswoman Ray, our Vice President of the United States, daughter of Oakland, daughter of California, and you come back home for the first time in your new role. It is so moving and so touching to all of us to see you serving in your new role and to be able to welcome you back home today. It is also extraordinary that in the many things that you could have highlighted during your historic visit home, that you would highlight small businesses. We have heard that half of the jobs created nationally, same for California, half of the jobs in California are created by small businesses or founders of small business. And we have heard that in the programs of CDFI, that it is women and it is immigrants and it is minority entrepreneurs who benefit the most from these programs. But as far as I know, no one at your level has ever come to highlight the importance of this sector of our economy before and what it means to us. The programs that you have put in the Rescue Act and the additional support that you're getting for small businesses every day are absolutely critical in our state. Critical for lifting people up, critical for lifting families up, for enriching our communities. And if I just may provide a little perspective as the daughter of an immigrant who started a small business that I grew up and worked in for 18 years, because that's what immigrant kids do very often, is work in the small businesses. Eventually our business became a medium-sized California business. But in my life, in our immigrant community, in my work as Lieutenant Governor, so many people like you, Rain, who have this fire inside of them, this independence and this pride of ownership that gives a recognition of what drives the California spirit and the California dream, to be your own boss and to realize your own vision of success. It is an incredibly important motivating factor that drives so many millions of Californians on the pathway of the American dream. Thank you for highlighting the importance of small businesses in our state, but more importantly, thank you for the extraordinary resources that you are bringing from Washington, D.C. back to our beautiful state of California and all around the country to support this sector.
Thank you. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Madam Lieutenant Governor. Well, this has been a great visit, and I'm gonna go around the country and talk about you. I'm gonna talk about all of you, and we're gonna continue to work together on this because, as the Congresswoman knows, as the Senator knows, we want to make sure that we get the resources where they are needed, where there, and the bankers among us will appreciate where we have Ramsey County, and that's
Yep. No, we're just gonna.
I got that. Go.
Got it?
If you want to go to the vans, hang on one sec. Let me check with our press agent because I want to make sure it's not an issue. But how do you want to work this? Hang on a second. Can you hold in your van and I'll just one back and forth here? Okay. Those who need to go to the vans,
Okay, Harvey, I'm heading back in.
okay, thanks, everybody. Stay here.
Huh? Just pull it. Oh, got it.